we go. Hello and welcome to our Essential Wellness Empowered Life series. My name is Aisha Harley, and as always, it is a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you so much for joining us live on the Zoom webinar, as well as we have our audience streaming in on our Essential Wellness community and our Visionary Leaders community. So hello, everybody. Grab yourself some tea. Get yourself some oils, and you're definitely going to want to take notes. These two gave this presentation on Monday live in Portland, and it was absolutely outstanding. Lots of really great information, a lot of experience, both professionally and personally. So I love the combination of what April and Ned bring collectively to share with all of you today. It's really powerful. So I'm going to just take a moment to introduce our two very special guests, and then we're going to hand it right on over to them. Ned, we go ahead and move to the next slide. So again, today's topic is turn your ADHD into a superpower. And I absolutely love this reframe. And by the end of the presentation, you too will have an awesome understanding of how to reframe this label that many of us have and many of us struggle with. So to get into introducing our guests, our first guest is April Hansen. She has been a pediatric nurse for several years, caring for kids and teens with ADHD, mostly through medication management. However, now there is so much more research about different options outside of medication. And after finding doTERRA essential oils, studying Ayurveda, and holistic health coaching, April has a whole system approach to finding balance in every condition. She is a co-founder of Honeymaker Wellness here in Portland, Oregon, a company that is revolutionizing healthcare. She has devoted her life to the ancient arts and science of Ayurveda, reflexology, essential oils, and energy systems in the body, is a passionate educator, holistic health coach, and body energy worker. Her clients love her real-life approach, her magnetic joy, and her pure presence, which you are going to experience in a few moments. We also have in the house Ned Hascall. He has experienced ADHD his entire life, and he has found great success through the doTERRA supplements, essential oils, and daily protocol that he is going to share with you today. He has been a science teacher in the Portland public school system for 20 years. He teaches 6th through 8th grades and is the father of 2 grown young men. Ned shed his shame around his ADHD, as you're going to hear in his powerful story, and found his own superpowers through his healing. Now he wants to help you find yours. He is a doTERRA wellness advocate and teaches essential oil classes with his lovely wife, Dr. Louise Rose, who is a naturopath here in Portland, Oregon. It is such a pleasure and an honor to introduce you both. So take it away.
Thank you, Aisha.
Thanks.
So go ahead, Ned.
That's okay. Here's the first question is, what is ADHD and how does that play out in people's lives? April and I have done a bunch of reading lately, even though both of us have been treating and teaching children for many years who have this condition. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM-5, if you have difficulty focusing or staying on a task, if you have inattention to details, inability to sustain attention, trouble listening, disorganization, avoidance of tasks you don't find interesting. I say, who doesn't do that? Or you should, but frequently losing things and being easily distracted. If you have 6 out of these 9 markers, you may have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I have all but one of these things. There's also a part of it that's about hyperactivity, and that's not really my issue, but many people have a hard time staying in their chair, They maybe blurt at times when it's inappropriate. And this is a little harder to see in adults and much easier to see in children. Do you want to, what do you have to add?
Oh, I just wanted to add the actual ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And the disorder part is the part that we're going to totally reframe.
Right.
So we want to really have everybody own their uniqueness, and that an ADHD brain is not a disorder. It's just a different type of brain with special, specific needs. So I like to think of it as a Ferrari brain instead of a Honda Civic brain.
Yeah.
So ADHD brains are faster and more sensitive. So we're going to talk about what the strengths and the special needs of that type of brain are in later in the slides.
Perfect. But first, I want to talk about one thing that's important to me. Notice these words. It's most of what we call this attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. These two words really pop out. Deficit, disorder. There's something wrong with me, clearly, if these words are in this definition. And I want to really reframe it that I don't have a disorder, I have a difference. My brain operates differently, and other people with ADHD and ADD operate differently. And I really don't have a deficit. I feel I have an abundance of attention. Sometimes that gets scattered around a little bit, but I really think by the end of this presentation, you will agree with me that this is a different way of thinking, not a disordered way of thinking. The thing about those labels and about how people with ADHD are often characterized and treated is that it generates shame. Now, for me, this was the number one thing I had to get over to be able to move through my attention and to realize my gifts, really. So because I don't complete things in a linear fashion, and I often put things off till the last minute to use the deadline as an impetus, because I forget stuff or lose things. People, these are things that any adult, quote unquote, is supposed to be able to do well. And so I've felt shame around these pieces for much of my life. I'm very, very, very fortunate that in the past 3 years, 2 to 3 years, I've started to shed that shame and realize that I do some things well and I don't do other things well, just like every other adult in the room. Anything, April, before I go on? Okay. So here are some words that I would like everyone out in the audience to see if they could recharacterize. I'm going to go through them. These are names that I might be called: scatterbrained, absent-minded professor, twitchy, hyper, restless, madcap, dizzy, daydreamer, flighty. I challenge you right now, and to type it into the comments section, how might you take one of these words and turn it on its head? Take a minute. So one way I might, April, can you see the comments?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. See if anyone writes anything in.
Okay.
Say what they say.
One, just as an example, scatterbrain could be multitasker.
I agree.
Daydreamer could be innovator.
Right.
Hyper could be energetic. Dizzy could be thinks outside the box.
Yeah, dizzy, looking at all angles, right?
Right.
And flighty might be flying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a lot in this that says that, again, the way we characterize kids and adults who suffer from, or to live with, not to suffer, is really will determine whether or not they're feeling shame around this or if they see the possibilities. And what is normal anyways? What do you think, April?
So normal is, at least in terms of the medical world, normal is not usually used. So we either say normal ranges or neurotypical. So that's what we'll use. That's what the brain model is termed, is neurotypical, which just means that's the mass majority of what brains present as.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean normal or abnormal.
But even that hypothetical normal, that hypothetical novel of neurotypical is based on, sort of stands opposed to what I live. It's funny because it's really hard to pin down, I think, what normal is anyways. I'm going to show you somebody now who I think is really shows how an ADHD mind might work really well. This is Jack Gantos. Jack Gantos is an author of children's books, most notably the book Joey Pigsa Swallowed the Key. So the book about Joey Pigsa is the best way I know of for a neurotypical brain to inhabit an ADHD brain. Joey is the main character and the narrator of the book, and his exuberance and chaos in his life is the subject of the book. And I know, because I saw Jack Gantos speak at the Multnomah County Library Youth Authors Lecture a few years ago, that he also, like me, suffers from ADHD. This is Jack Gantos's map. So Jack came and spoke to a huge crowd of very authoritative book lovers in Portland. And he used this map on an easel with a pointer to tell his story. He would randomly point at the map with his pointer and then look at it and say, oh, right, that time of the bad alligator. And he'd tell the story of the bad alligator. And he'd run that story out. And then he would use his pointer again and point at the map and say, oh, that story in my sister's room. And he would go off on that story. And what happened was a really engaging and rich conversation about his life and about his inspiration as an author. And he was able to do it without bullet notes and an outline, but with a global and sort of around the block way of telling this story. It was really engaging, and we were really entertained. He's a great speaker, and he used his superpower to know where his strengths are and tell the story his way. Here's some other people that April and I, on a quick Google search, have found who had ADHD and succeeded, not in spite of their brain, but because of it. Go ahead.
One name that we failed to leave off was Steve Jobs. I love Steve Jobs as an example of an ADHD brain that has found a way to revolutionize the world we live in. He dropped out of college. The world that we live in didn't work for him, so he just created a new one. And so because of that, we all get to benefit. I'm using a Mac computer right now. So that's just one amazing example of an ADHD brain that managed to succeed despite the world not being made for his brain.
Right. Scientists, artists, inventors, the entrepreneurs and disruptors. In fact, entrepreneurship is a great place for ADHD minds to go. They just might need some assistance in doing it. What makes ADHD brains super?
So I'll talk to this. In all of my reading about ADHD brains and ADHD brain kids, across the board, they have high IQs. And the higher the IQ, especially of the teen, the later they got diagnosed, because they found ways to navigate and acclimate to make their world work for them.
That's me.
And because of this highly adept brain, they are usually very emotionally sensitive and very empathic. So they have sort of like these antennas coming out from their brain, where they can tap into all of these different facets of life and relationships that other people can't necessarily see or feel. Because of that, they take criticism very, very harshly. So just know that if you have an ADHD person in your life, they are very, very more hypersensitive to criticism and feedback. So make sure that you give it to them in a really loving, nurturing, supportive way. And know that if you do, we're human, you make a mistake and you do give them some harsh criticism, that they take that as a physical wound. So do whatever you need to do to mend that relationship afterwards. And because of this sensitivity, a lot of ADHD brains tend towards perfectionism because they don't want criticism or negative feedback. So they just want to strive to be perfect in every way, and hyper focus on their passions, and try to be as perfect as they can for the people around them.
I want to jump in here because this is one of the key superpowers to me, is this ability to hyper focus. I can engage in a topic, sometimes really shutting out the outside world. Sometimes this might be called a mystical experience. This is when time disappears, and I'm engaged in this one thing, and I live in that one thing. It's some of the best moments of my life when I can engage in that hyper focus. It also means that other people around you might be a little frustrated, but for me, it's a great feature of my quote disability unquote. We can be very present in the moment. Also, I'm a pretty good listener. Even though one of the pieces we heard was that ADHD people have a hard time with listening, I really love to listen to people and ask them questions about what they are, and to be present in the moment. And when I work with small children, you'll ask people who know me, and they'll know that when I'm with a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, I'm down close to them, I'm at their level, I'm looking at them in the eyes. And it's really, again, I really value that about myself. We'll work diligently on their passions, yep. Perfectionism, for sure, and that's a little bit of a problem for me, but it, again, probably is a skill. And April put this, we talked about this last one here, that you're suited, someone with ADHD is suited to be a CEO because you have such a global view. You just will need 3 administrative assistants to help you. And unfortunately, until you get to that point, that might be parts of members of your family.
And one of the interesting things that Ned and I found out researching for this presentation was that ADHD brains, people are 300 times more likely to be entrepreneurs and start their own business. So I think that's such a testament to the energy, the innovation and creativity and passion that ADHD brains naturally possess, which is all of the things that you want in entrepreneurship. So I think it's a beautiful, natural skill set.
Let's see. Oh, I had one more thing to say, and that my impulsivity, part of what makes my brain super, is that because I'm impulsive, I often, my whole life, I've acted maybe before thinking. I think what that's done is help train my intuition. So now, as an adult, I'm able to see a situation and make a call because I have a background of making decisions impulsively. I know this sounds anyways, background of making decisions impulsively that has trained me to say, trust this and not this, because sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. I now err towards the good aspects of that. And so I think it's trained my intuition and impulsivity. All right, what's next here? Oh, I'm going to have to move the projector because I have to, you guys, everyone, I want everyone who's watching to stand up because we're going to do a little activity to help wake up my brain, your brain. Okay. Stand back here. All right. So everyone's standing. And what I'm going to do is what I call brain dance. I do this with children at the beginning of class. And it is a recreation of the learning you did from birth to 1 year old as an infant. So I want you to follow along and see if you can sort of imagine an infant learning these things to do. The very first thing you're going to do is breathe. Take a nice big breath through your nose. Exhale. Do that one more time. Then the next thing a baby feels is tactile, is touch. So squeeze yourself all the way down the front of your body and back up the backside, squeezing and patting on your arms and patting up the backside, and then rushing brushing your body with your fingertips. Ah, yes. Okay. Then we're going to get really tiny and really big. So get really small and then get big that way. And it's that sort of shock response of the baby, that startle, right? And get big again. Then I'm going to try and touch your head. I know you won't be able to do it. Touch your head to your belly button. And then you're going to come backwards and bend over backwards. So we're moving our spine. So here we go. Like this. And then curl back over the top. Oh. I'm going to do that again because I need that. Move your spine. Okay, this time we're going to isolate our top half. Just move your top half around. Top of your body. Good. Now just the bottom of your body. Well, you can't see my legs, but they're moving down there. And now we're going to side by side. We're going to isolate the sides. So move the right side of your body however you want. And then move the left side of your body. In this class, I call this the other right side. It annoys the kids. Okay, good. And then we're going to go the cross lateral, which would be touching your opposite knee or the foot behind you or walking like a gecko up the wall. Any of these things that you're doing, opposite motions. Somehow it could be disco, I don't know, whatever you want. The last thing is the vestibular stimulation, stimulating those little cells in your ears by spinning. Ready? Here we go. Whee! Good. Now jump up and down, pull your ears, stops the spinning a little bit. Then we go the other way. This way. All right, good. Jump up and down, pull your ears. I'm not sure you have to pull your ears, but the jumping up and down helps. And shake it out. Okay, good. Thank you for indulging me. That's probably loud. Sorry about that. Thank you, everybody. That's great. Again, that's how one of the ways that physical activity, and you'll learn this more as we go on, is so, so important to students and adults with ADHD. They need to use their bodies to think, and to be better thinkers, they need to stimulate your body with exercise or brain dance or whatever it is. Okay, I'm gonna move on.
So this is one of the exercises that we did in the presentation that might be a little bit harder with everybody at home, but maybe in the comment section you could share what one of your superpowers is. And as we listed in the intro, mine is that I can make friends literally anywhere. I can't take the bus because I get so off track making new friends. And Ned loves to be put on the spot, which is really, really rare. So if you would just take a minute and think about what your natural talent is, that something you don't have to try to do, you don't have to work at, it just comes naturally to you, and people comment about it to you, and write it in the comment section.
Fantastic. So we know you all have a superpower, and it could be as good as always smells terrific. I love it.
Well, I know our oil group always smells terrific.
That's true, for sure. All right, here we go.
Okay, so this is a little bit technical slide that we won't spend too much time on, but I wanted to at least put it out there so that you know that not all ADHD brains look the same. So just know that the medical model separates it into 3 different subtypes, which of course the third type is the combined type of the first 2. There's another.
And that's pretty much what I've got, for sure.
Right. So that's majority of what people fall into is the combined type. Not everybody has the hyperactivity impulsive part of it. And we'll talk more about that later when we talk about the hormones and girls getting diagnosed or women later in life getting diagnosed, and how that looks different in girls and boys. But I just wanted to put that out there, that there's more than one way to show up with ADHD.
And there's other people who have other opinions about this. There's a physician in California named Dr. Daniel Amen, and he uses SPECT brain scans, and he's scanned tens of thousands of people and has really tried to understand the different types of ADHD, and he has 7 different subtypes that he works with in his clinic, and then tailors treatment to those specific types. So there's a lot of research, and again, as with all things about the brain, we are learning as time goes on. All right.
And back to just the medical model again, it's not an easy diagnosis. It's not something where you can just take an online test and see how many yeses you get compared to nos. There's actually a lot of info that goes into a diagnosis. But if you've got a kid or somebody in your family that you suspect might have ADHD, it's worth getting a diagnosis because depending on the school district, you can unlock some resources that you wouldn't normally get without the diagnosis.
If your child has a diagnosis that impairs their academic performance, then they might be able to get what's called an individualized education plan, an IEP, which would come with assistance and a teacher that would be a guide and a helper. Or it could go to what's called a 504 plan, which is just doesn't have any money and special ed assistance associated with it, but it gives your child some accommodations for testing and for other situations and how long it takes them to complete an assignment. And those might be a really great thing, because then you as a parent can use that document to say, hey, are you using the right accommodations for my student? So it gives you some leeway.
And even if it's something as simple as allowing your child to have a fidget spinner in class, so that they're not jumping out of their seat and being totally disruptive. If it's something as simple as that, it might be worth getting the diagnosis just to get that.
For me as a teacher, please, not a fidget spinner. But some other nice squishy thing would be awesome, because, oh man, those spinners came and went like a gangbusters. So,
okay, let's move on.
To me. Okay, enough of that. This beautiful slide is really about your beautiful brain and about what it is that we're all so different. All of us, not just those of us with ADHD, but we're all so different and so perfect in ourselves. Yes, we have struggle. Yes, we have, but there it is inside. April chose this great image, and I just love it. So.
Somebody just commented that their son's school banned the fidget spinners. Okay, so maybe that was a bad example.
Yeah, exactly. I know. That fad is sort of past.
A lump of Play-Doh that they can play with.
Exactly. Much better.
I did want to say one thing about what does balance look like. And for all of us, we all, whether we have ADHD or not, we all try to find our way in the world of what works for us. And just like a left-handed person is living in a world totally made for right-handed people, they learn basically how to be ambidextrous. And all of us, to some degree, find a way to navigate the world that isn't made for everybody. So that's kind of what we're aiming for here in this talk, is just to have everybody find a way to utilize their strengths and find a way to navigate the world.
That's right.
So we have to know what our goal is. And I love this website called Essential Parenting with pediatrician, Dr. Chris White out of California. And he talks about sort of the goal of balancing ADHD is to have attention, to be able to sit and to learn, self-regulation, being able to basically control yourself or ramp up or calm down yourself when you need to.
Or to ask for what you need.
Or to ask for what you need. And then executive function, which is, I think of it as sort of like self-mastery, knowing when you're off balance, knowing when you need to ask for help, knowing what kind of help you need, and setting yourself up for success before you even get to that imbalance. So we'll list the website and the resources later on.
Fantastic. I agree with that. And I just think that the asking for help and knowing that you're not good at everything, that's part of the deal. That would really help with that executive function and self-regulation.
So this is just like I was describing earlier, like ADHD brains have all of these antennas coming out of them. This is what that picture reminds me of. So we can move on to the next slide.
Cool. I love that.
So I love this quote by an ADHD award-winning producer and consultant, Margot Joffe. Those of us with ADHD have a sensitive heart, a creative mind, and incredible energy. We have the power to lead our generation to do things in a better way. And what I love about ADHD brains is that what workforce is looking for with employees is not people that have a lot of knowledge accumulated. What they're looking for, and this is what we see in our corporate health events all the time, is they're looking for employees that are energetic, creative thinkers, innovative problem solvers, and able to basically be passionate and stay focused on something, which is exactly what an ADHD brain has. So if we can figure out how to utilize all of those strengths in a funneled way, then success.
So April put in the slide, and I love it, and she has some things to say, and I do too. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, what I love about this slide and this whole practice was that we started making what makes Ned's brain super, and the list just kept growing. We ended up with like 25 things on this list, which we forgot to mention one of them, which I got very tickled from, was you married well.
It is true.
Yep. Married a naturopath chef, which doesn't hurt. But I think that that's the testament of how family can help out. To have family be there to support healthy habits and to keep us on track is such an asset to all of us. And what I love about Ned is that he is completely, the maturity in him and humility and just vulnerability of sharing his story with all of us, and all of the things that he had to go through as a young kid before ADHD was even a diagnosis, and how he managed to navigate that and figure out how to turn the shame into basically a really great self-advocacy potential.
And I wish I had been able to do that years ago, but I had to wait until late in adulthood to get to that point.
So do you want to talk about a few highlights from the list that you would like to?
Yeah, I can't see the list right now. So one of the things, though, I want to really focus on is the fact that the reason I came around in the last few years and to have what I call my firm foundation to stand on is because I began taking the doTERRA Lifelong Vitality supplements. These things are, this supplement pack, I have been taking supplements and seeing naturopathic physicians for many, many years with little success here, mixed success. My doctor has been great and has supported me the whole time. And she's been working, well, let's try this and try this. But once I started to take these supplements, I could notice the change within days. And these supplements are money-back guarantee for 30 days. It's a 30-day supply of full dose supplements. And they gave me that foundation to stand on to say, wait, I feel good today. And because what I had done, my shame and inability to complete some work had really caused, I think, 40 years of cyclical depression. And that was debilitating. And I was really down on myself for a long, long time. But once I started taking Lifelong Vitality, it allowed me to say, wait, I feel good today. What else can I do to make myself feel good? So that foundation allowed me to start a meditation practice, cut gluten out of my diet, which is it's an inflammatory substance. And for me, it inflames my brain. It allowed me to start exercising, have I think I mentioned a meditation practice. It's not every day, but it's, I'm working to do the things that make me feel good. And now, instead of when I feel bad or when I feel low energy, I say, what did I eat yesterday? Or did I get enough sleep? Instead of, you're a horrible person. And for 40 years, I was saying, you're defective, you're a horrible person. And that's not okay. For anybody watching, that's not acceptable. You are not a horrible person. You're exactly as you were created, and you're just fine. Just know that you do some things well and you don't do other things well. And I can say that now. I can say I'm gifted and I lack. I have a bunch of places that I need help. And again, as April said, I'm able now to ask for the help I need. And I have been for many years, but now I see it, that this is my secret to success, is that if I can ask for help as I need it, and maybe just give those jobs, pay someone to do things for me that I don't do well. What a novel idea. I don't have to do everything. So that's been really a huge help. Anything else?
I loved a few things from your list that your wife added, that you were an incredible Halloween costume idea maker for the kids.
And that's about the hyper-focusing thing. Once you give me a job like that, I'm in. I made Nash a Cheerio costume one time.
And just all of those great qualities that make you a great parent and a great teacher.
Thanks. So. And I think so too. So I really appreciate those things now. And I also don't take those for granted as I used to, the things that I'm good at. That's another piece of it.
So Ned, what would you say now that you've lived your teen and young adult life without the ADHD diagnosis? What would you say to somebody that is a teenager getting newly diagnosed now?
I would say, what do you love to do? What really captures your interest? And the problem, some of the problems these days is a lot of things that capture children's interest are video games and things that they have used to medicate themselves, because they're really video games, or later on alcohol and drugs are ways that people medicate themselves to stop those feelings of shame. But find out what they're good at. Make sure that they're exercising, getting body tired so that a child can go to sleep or on time, jumping rope in the morning before we start. One of my boys, he'd do his spelling lessons while throwing a ball back and forth. Again, for parents and children, say, hey, can I get up and move? Can I only work for 10 minutes and then take a 5-minute break and then work for another 10 minutes? Those are great ideas. Again, there's lots of solutions. Again, for that kid who is facing this diagnosis, what I want adults to do is say, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if adults said, you have ADHD? Oh my God, that's great, because you have potential to change the world. You have potential to lead a technological revolution. You have a potential to be a great artist because you can hyper-focus on what you're doing. So again, recognizing that these are Ferrari brains and not Honda Civic brains. I don't like to say I have
nothing bad against Honda Civics. We have a Honda Civic. We love it.
So again, we talked about a little bit about what we need as far as acceptance. And that's, again, the big piece I want to introduce at the beginning here, is that shame is your enemy, and it's going to hold people back. The more we can encourage acceptance, the better. April has a lot of things to say about some of these other pieces too.
I do. So I love the acceptance part. Just what Ned was touching on is, instead of seeing the shame around, a deficit or disorder, just saying, oh, okay, you've got a Ferrari brain, or, what Ayurveda would deem it as too much hummingbird. You've got too much hummingbird. Let's figure out how we can utilize this, and just accept it, instead of trying to change yourself or your child. Just saying, okay, well, this is how it is. Let's see what we can do about it, and loving each other through that. Mm-hmm. So this whole list, when we were putting this together, we just kept coming back to, well, this is what every brain needs. So don't think that this is just for ADHD folks. This is for everybody. But for ADHD brains, this is non-negotiable. So all of these things are really critical for an ADHD brain to function. And we'll go into the breakdown of each of these. Reducing toxic exposure, including environmental, emotional, and Wi-Fi. Hormonal balance, stress management, exercise, time outdoors, proper micro and macronutrients, where we'll talk more about the vitamin pack again, brain practice, and sleep. And two of the major things that we dealt with in a pediatric clinic with kids with ADHD medication was sleep, because they were so hyper they couldn't wind down, and they
the
couldn't get
medication often has that side effect also.
Yes, the medication will do that, and also just not being body tired because they didn't get enough exercise during the day. And then the stress management and the nutrients, proper micro and macronutrients. So we would usually try to play catch up on breaks, school breaks, where the kids could get off their medication, get caught up with food and their growth curve, and get caught up on sleep, and then hope they've gained enough before school starts again. So again, this is for every brain, non-negotiable for ADHD brains.
Right.
So this is a nice oil blend for acceptance. You can make this and use it topically. You can also put it in the diffuser for daytime or nighttime. It's safe. There's no precautions for that.
There's also serenity and balance and forgive, some of these other pieces that might be really good oils to help eliminate shame and to accept how you are.
So reducing toxic exposure, most of us don't realize how much radio frequency we're surrounded by. And this is one of the really critical things for an ADHD brain that's very sensitive to all of that. So we turn our main Wi-Fi off at night so that when we sleep, we're not getting inundated. We still live in the city, so it's hard to avoid, but at least in our home, it's not on. And then I know it's hard to separate teenagers from their phones, but take their phones away from them at night. I know a lot of teenagers will sleep with their phone under their pillow, which I find horrifying. And anything that you can do to reduce that in your home or around where your kid studies, or around yourself. Reduce heavy metals in the body. We'll talk a little bit more about that, how to do that with food and different supplements. Reduce your exposure to environmental toxins, such as makeup, perfumes, fabric softeners. You can switch to the felt balls with essential oils instead of fabric softener sheets. Make sure your detergents are not too toxic. There's all kinds of options you can get now. Cleaning products and pesticides and artificial sweeteners are, again, really, really hard on an ADHD brain because they're just so much more sensitive to all of that. Food coloring and processed foods and sugars. I usually don't like to eliminate anything from an ADHD kid's diet because they have such a hard time keeping weight on. But if you're going to eliminate anything, eliminate processed food and sugar. None of us need that. And food coloring, especially red and yellow. So, if you say you're at the movies and your kid wants some red vines, you might steer them towards something else instead. Like even a bag of popcorn would be better than red food dye candy. So just some tips on those kinds of things.
The On Guard hand soap and the On Guard laundry detergent, toothpaste, these are some of the pieces, some of the ways that we can clean our home, can clean ourselves without some of that toxic exposure. And you've already touched on a lot of this stuff. I guess the chelation is something that...
So yeah, in terms of the heavy metals, the chelation is something that you can do with a practitioner. You can do it on your own with bentonite clay, activated charcoal. Triphala supplement is an Ayurvedic supplement. It's a dried fruit that comes in a little capsule, and you can get that online or at natural grocers. It also regulates your GI to maintain a healthy daily bowel movement. Totally safe for kids or adults to take one every night before bed. The On Guard cleaning products I love, love, love because they're so clean and you can wipe down your counter and eat right off of it without any worries. I mentioned the felt dryer balls. You could make your own DIY cleaners for really cheap. You could add some vinegar, some essential oils, and some purified water, and you're good to go. In terms of food, these are a list. I won't read them to you just because you can see them. This is a list of foods that are specifically geared towards reducing the heavy metals in your body. And then consider a spring cleanse, which I advocate for everybody. Now is the time. Now is the time to do a spring cleanse.
There it is right there. It is right there, right?
Yep, there we go. doTERRA makes it really easy. They have a cleanse and restore kit that's I think a 30-day supply, where you can do a whole protocol. And it's safe to do anytime for anybody. But this time of year is a really great time to do it. And I do a spring and a fall cleanse. So I do two a year. And I just feel mental clarity. I feel really rejuvenated and alive. And it's really something that all of us can benefit from. So.
And Dr. Rose guides a cleanse at least once a year at Rose Cabinet Medicine. So you could check in on that website and see if you needed some guidance to do that cleanse, you could join her crew as they go through it together. All right.
So hormone balance, we're going to talk a little bit about this just in terms of how it looks different in girls than boys. A lot of times girls don't have the hyperactivity part, so they don't get diagnosed right away because they're not causing disruption in class. But what they do is they daydream and they'll, wander off mentally. So just know that it'll look different in girls than it does in boys. And boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than girls are, and not necessarily because it doesn't exist, but just because they're not causing problems. So if you have a girl in your life or yourself, just know that this could be a potential diagnosis for you. It just will look differently.
And boys are, do you already say this? Boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed than girls. And yet I really don't think that it's that. It may be more prevalent in boys, but not that much more. So girls just go undiagnosed. Okay. But did you want to talk about perimenopause and postmenopause?
Yeah, let me talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
So estrogen plays a big role in mentation, as all of us can attest to. When you're in different parts of your menstrual cycle, you feel foggy, you might feel forgetful. For those of us in the perimenopause phase, it's super fun. It's an interesting revisit to puberty, if you will. And what happens is when your estrogen levels plummet or get, go down steeply, and that happens right after ovulation, and it also happens around menopause, your mentation changes. And if you're on ADHD medication already, it will change the efficacy of that. So just know that if you're on ADHD medication, the weeks 3 and 4, which is ovulation week and PMS week, you might need to adjust your dosage. So just know that that's normal. That's just part of the hormone brain partnership that our body has. And some of the hormone imbalance in perimenopause or postmenopause can look like ADHD. So just know that that might be sort of a misdiagnosis, if you will. If you look at the remedies that we have, it's safe for everybody. So just know that you can follow this whole protocol and you'll be fine.
And the other thing is that one of the diagnostic criteria for ADHD is that you've experienced symptoms before you were 12 years old. So again, these are, my brain's the one I came equipped with. And for some of you, you might experience symptoms of ADHD. We haven't talked about head trauma, April, but head trauma after a head injury, you could have some of these same symptoms, but that would clearly take a much different diagnosis or much different treatment plan than what we're talking about here. And that would be needing a doctor involved and a specialist to help with that. So
right, and that's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up, Ned, because we saw in the pediatric clinic I worked in, we saw a lot of minor concussions from just everyday sports, soccer, basketball. We saw all kinds of minor head injuries, closed head injuries, just from everyday sports that back in the day we wouldn't have looked at twice. So just know that any sort of head injury or hormone imbalance can look like ADHD, even though it's not. So don't get misdiagnosed. But the protocol that we're laying out is totally safe for everybody.
Yep.
So doTERRA has great products for hormone. And this is sort of one of my fortes. This is how I got into teaching classes about essential oils, was hormone balance. And from my own experience balancing my hormones, and then my nurse friends started asking for classes. So I started teaching classes to them. And now it's just a monthly thing that I do, because it's such a great set of tools that are really easy to use and have such a profound positive effect. So again, the LLV, the Lifelong Vitality Supplement Pack, has been a game changer for me. If I forget for a few days, I can totally feel the difference. It's a game changer for all of my clients. It just sort of takes your base level of health and kind of raises it up here, so you've got a higher baseline and more cushion. The ADHD medication, I mentioned, that has to be adjusted for the last 2 weeks of the menstrual cycle. There's a couple doTERRA blends for hormone balancing, Clary Calm and Whisper. And my premenopausal clients love Clary Calm. They just use it every day, or especially around PMS week. My perimenopausal and postmenopausal clients often like Whisper. My clients dealing with fertility issues often like Whisper. So I just say go with whatever your body responds to. I responded really great to frankincense and lemon. So that for me was enough for my hormones to get balanced. All of these are great for that whole hormonal estrogen system. The phytoestrogen lifetime complex is a supplement that doTERRA has. You can add it. I think you can add it to your LLV pack. Aisha, correct me if I'm wrong. And it's great because it has flaxseed extract, pomegranate extract, and phytoestrogens that help balance your hormones. And this is great to use around any time of the menstrual cycle, but especially around perimenopause. Okay. Here's a protocol. I won't go through it. You can take a screenshot of it. If you wanted to really, if you're kind of really all over the place, you wanted to just take the, bulls by the horn, you could just try the whole protocol and see how you do. Totally safe for everybody to use. Obviously, don't use it if you're pregnant. Check with your doctor before you do anything if you're pregnant. But this is safe to do for anybody on any stage of life. Stress management.
That's it.
You want to talk about this one, Ned?
Sure. We did this last time.
Do you want to talk about what you do to help manage stress when you're feeling overwhelmed?
So these days, I really want to go back to exercise, meditation, and actually seeking joy. So part of the exercise piece, I'm now swimming 3 times a week on advice of my doctor. Thank goodness, because that's another piece that I've added in lately. I exercise. I have a standing job, so I'm lucky that I walk all day long as a teacher, and that helps. Just get exercise in my job. I also, I used to do it more than I do now, is commute to work by bicycle. This is the best thing, because you get a twofer, you get free transportation, you get to exercise as you go to work before you get there, and then after you come home. You get to think on the road and problem solve as you go. And I always get to work much more in a much calmer state if I ride my bicycle as opposed to ride the motorcycle or drive my car. And you know how driving in traffic these days just drives you crazy. Bicycles, so perfect. It's always the same every day. You never run into traffic because you're on side streets, and you know exactly how long it's going to take you to get there. So all you need is a raincoat, and you can ride all year. So try it out. That's a great way. I said exercise, meditation. My meditation practice allows me to say, when I'm spinning out that way, to draw back. Oh, come back to here. This is what you're doing now. And the other thing is finding joy, finding a way to not put off any longer the things that bring you joy, the things that you love to do, but say, I just don't have time because I need to clean the house and I need to do balance my checkbook. You know what? Those two things can wait. What are your priorities? Are your priorities, creating art, or are your priorities balancing the checkbook? Think about it. Maybe you should do the artwork first, balance the checkbook second. I don't know. Not everyone would agree with me, but to me, that's a great way to manage stress, because if all joy deferred is stress, puts stress on top. We also have a couple of different ways. Do we have anything on? Oh yeah, we do. Rose Cabinet Medicine also teaches TRE, which is trauma release exercises. Am I right? Exercise.
Yep.
TRE, and that is training the body to go into a autonomic shaking, as all animals do. You imagine a zebra being chased by the lion. It escapes and it shakes its body, and then goes back to grazing. And it's a way that human beings, children do it, but adults have said, that's inappropriate, and so that we've trained ourselves out of doing that. I now do that as a pretty regular practice, and it's remarkable. Again, it's called TRE, trauma releasing
exercise. I agree with you, Ned. I do TRE too, and it's been a great reset. And what it does is it releases the stored stress that's held in your body.
Right.
You might not even realize is there. So you don't have to do it for even very long. I'll lay down on my yoga mat and do TRE for maybe even 5 minutes before bed. And it's a nice little reset.
Then we have a lot of blends from doTERRA, the blends, the Serenity Calming Blend. There's a Serenity tablet that is great to take to help go to sleep, but it's not a sleep aid like Ambien. It's a relaxer. So it works great in the daytime also to manage stress, but it's great for bedtime also. You could also diffuse Serenity in a diffuser. Balance, the same thing. Here it says apply to wrists or neck to help calm the nerves, or just to smell it is really great. For me, I love vetiver, because as we talked about, I'm often up here, my sparkly brain, and I need roots to put down roots. And vetiver, when I smell vetiver, it makes me think about putting roots down into the ground. And that helps me to contain my exuberance, which is sometimes necessary.
So we've listed a lot of choices here, and I highlighted Serenity and Balance because those are my two go-to blends for pretty much any sort of emotional imbalance. So if any of my client is having an anxiety attack, depression, lack of motivation, anything that's emotionally upsetting, I like Serenity and Balance together on the wrists. So you just put a drop of each and then rub them together, and you could even rub it into your forearms and your elbows if you'd like. That gets all 5 zones of your zone therapy. And it's quick and easy, and it usually smells really nice. So play around with these other oils, especially if it's for one of your children or your students. And I never force oils on a kid. I always try to make it a positive experience. So go with something that they like.
Mm-hmm. More, there's vetiver again, rosemary, bergamot. What a lovely smell that is. I mean, it's such a win-win because it's a stress reliever and just delicious. So the Intune Focus Blend I use every day on the back of my neck. That's part of what I do.
We really failed to talk about Intune during our presentation live, which I had to chuckle about later because we had so many different tools that to us Intune was just a given. So I wanted to highlight that a little bit more. Intune is the blend that doTERRA has made for ADHD. So if you have a kid, and it's not an expensive blend, if you have a kid that doesn't have an ADHD diagnosis, it would still totally be safe to use. So, get one of the little roller bottles of this blend and try it and just see how your child does with it. It's pretty, risk-free.
And there's another one too that's in the children's blends. that's called Thinker. And that one is basically the analog to Intune in the children's blend.
And if you're in a school or a work situation that's scent free, you can put this oil blend on the big toe of the foot and along the arch. So that's the head and the spine reflex of the foot, and just rub that on in the morning and put your socks and shoes on.
Nice. And you also talked about a friend who used vetiver in the morning, put it on the back of their neck, and then went and took their shower. And by the time they had gotten there, they had ingested some of that through the skin. And there's a little bit left on the skin for smell because vetiver is pretty resilient, but it washed it away and it was acceptable.
Yeah.
Exercise and outdoors. The reason that we put this photo specifically, it's exercise in the sun, out in nature, because nature is one of the pieces that allows us to de-stress because we belong in it. This was a great, April put this stat up. For every hour of exercise you gave, an ADHD brain gains 4 hours of ability to sit and pay attention or to engage. Really, that's a powerful thing. We talked about jumping rope before, school, that's down on the list. Solo sports versus team sports. Some of your children or you may not be able to play team sports because it's too distracting and it's too hard to keep track of all the moving pieces. So solo sports like running or swimming. I was a competitive swimmer as a child, and that worked for me. I get to root for the team, but I'm responsible for my own race, and it's a meditative race and engaging. On the other hand, we also have read about children who, once they figured out team sports and could read the whole field, they ended up being the captain because since they could multitask and their brains were operating out on all these levels, they were great team sports people. So however it works, get some sports and some athletics into your child's or your life. What's earthing again? Tell me what earthing is.
I did want to say a couple things about, we mentioned it already, but boys need to be body tired before they can unwind at night. And this is not necessarily just ADHD brain kids. This is boys in general. And one of the things that a friend of mine, I interviewed her for this presentation. She has a son that has ADHD. And she said that she would go for walks with him. So if he didn't get enough exercise during the day, they would go for a brisk walk or a run or a hike, and they would sort of recap the day. And she said it was a really great time for him to share his emotional processing and get out anything that was stressing him out while he was also getting exercise outdoors. So she was a great advocate for him. She's a great mom. Which was one of the reasons why I wanted to interview her. She's got a great relationship with her son, and he's just 19 now and in college and has been really successful. So just know that the body tired part, if they don't get it at school or through sports, that there's different things you can do at home. We mentioned jumping rope before school for 5 or 10 minutes just to even get that energy out before they start their day. Any sort of dance, music, or physical activity with learning is huge and so much more effective. I think they say that if you try to memorize something, it'll take you 100 times repeating it. If you introduce play or physical activity with it, it'll take you 6 to a dozen times to learn it. So that's how all of our brains work. Again, with ADHD brains, it's almost imperative.
Right. I know that we're past 1 o'clock, and so some of you might have to go. We'll be finishing up here reasonably quickly, but
we can zoom through the rest.
Okay. Oh, here's the athlete's kit, just for you guys talking about sports. And what did you say, April? You said you're a sucker for anything in a cute bag.
Anything in a cute bag. It comes in this cute bag.
So these are such useful oils. They're so great. The deep blue the deep blue polyphenol complex that you take internally is an anti-inflammatory. I use that all the time just to manage my inflammation. The rub I use when I have sore muscles, and just as you think you would. They're great oils here too. So
proper nutrients, I could talk all day about this. Just if you go to the next slide, it'll have more detail, Ned. We'll talk about lifetime value. Here we go. The general diet tips that you want for an ADHD brain is high protein, low sugar, and no additives, no processed food.
It's the outside of the grocery store, right?
Right.
The edges.
Whole foods, home cooked preferably. Fat necessarily isn't a bad thing as long as it's healthy fats, but the high protein is what you really want. High protein is where these kids and adults, if you see the body type of an ADHD person, they're usually tall, thin, and lanky, exactly like Ned, and not a lot of body mass. So they burn through it as fast as they eat it. So you've got to definitely keep that intake. And one recommendation said 18 grams of protein for breakfast alone, which sounds like a lot, but this is where you don't want to skimp on eliminating anything food wise. So you want to make them a baked egg casserole with bacon and all kinds of added calories in there. Or if they won't eat breakfast, maybe you make them a high protein smoothie with a lot of really good stuff added to it, avocado and coconut oil and all kinds of good stuff.
Those oils, your brain is made of oil. So without high quality fatty acids, your brain is not growing and not being able to restore itself.
And then the added nutrients, ADHD kids were found to be low, more so than average kids, low in B6, zinc, iron, and magnesium. So you want to just make sure that all of those get added in. B vitamins obviously were shown to improve IQ scores. It's also a great source of natural energy. And then omega-3 fatty acids, we'll talk about that in a second with the LLV and the Z-omega. Probiotics were really important for kids with ADHD brains. We recommend taking that at night. And then this was an interesting fact I found, that American ginseng or ginkgo was sometimes better than the Chinese ginkgo or ginseng. So if your kid's on supplements, just kind of know that you can play around with that. And then go back a slide, Ned. We're going to talk about the LLV for a second. I'm going to take a moment. I know we're over time, but I'm going to gush about the LLV for a little bit because it is such a game changer for so many of my clients and so many of my family member. So the LLV is basically cellular food. So your health is only as healthy as the cells in your body are. And what happens a lot of times is that the food we have in our system is deficient because the soil's been eroded. And even if you had I think 18 to 24 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, which is almost physically impossible to intake, you wouldn't be getting all of your proper nutrients. And this is where we find with the ADHD Ferrari brain, it's such a game changer for them, Ned included, that this is a whole food supplement that's accessible to your cells and to your brain, and kind of, again, lifts that health baseline up to a much higher spot. So I'm gonna go through each one really quick. So the alpha CRS is the cellular vitality complex, and it has coenzyme Q10, quercetin, alpha lipoic acid, and acetyl L-carnitine. And we won't get into all of what that means. Just know that that's all really great stuff for your brain health. Then next, the Z-omega, which is probably the most important for the ADHD brain, and especially for men. Men might need to take more of the Z-omega than the recommended dose. Check with your practitioner on that. The Z-omega has the land and sea omega oils, which concentrated pure fish, calamari, ikium seed oils. It has the EPA, DHA, all of the GLA fatty acids. And what those essential fatty acids mean is that we can't get them, we can't make them in our own body, we have to get them from our diet. And then the land oils, which are flaxseed, borage, cranberry, and pomegranate seed oils, are amazing not only for your brain health, but also for your hormonal balance. I talk about this with my hormonal balance class, is that all of those seed oils really help your body to balance out. And then the Z Omega also has a bunch of essential oils: clove, frankincense, thyme, cumin, wild orange, peppermint, ginger, and German chamomile, which are an amazing health boost and brain boost. Mm-hmm. Next is the Microplex VMZ, which is the multivitamin blend, and it has your vitamins A, C, E, B vitamins, and vitamin D. It also has iron, magnesium, zinc, selenium, copper, manganese, and chromium, which was some of the ones that I mentioned that ADHD kids are naturally deficient in. So, and all of these have the tummy tamer blend in them. So I can take them on an empty stomach and be fine. If you have a kid that doesn't want to swallow pills, you can empty it into a smoothie, or the kids version is a chewable with the Z Omega in a liquid orange syrup, which I think is delicious. I use it on my French toast. So you could even, if you wanted to take all of these on a daily basis as a baseline, and then take the syrup, the Z Omega orange syrup, as a supplement in addition to boost your omegas. I even take a swig out of the bottle. It's that tasty. So just know there's a lot more about the LOV. I could go on and on and on. It's a class in itself. If you want to know more, there's a great video online. If you Google doTERRA Empowered Life Series, Lifelong Vitality Pack with Justin Harrison, he's got a great in-depth presentation about that. So we can move on.
Awesome. We've talked about this before. Sugar is the piece that there's no reason the body needs sugar, refined sugar in any way at all. Sugar is kryptonite. It's really not, I haven't gotten it completely out of my diet, but I'm working it out. And that's really the thing that probably the last thing I really need to do is a change to say, I'm out, that this is done.
And I wanted to say one quick thing about sugar. I know it's really hard to cut sugar out of teenagers' diets, especially when they're at school eating out of vending machines and things. But what you can do is offer them whole foods at home, get all of the sugar out of your house, all of the refined sugar, and replace it with nutrient-filled sweets like maple syrup, molasses, honey, dried dates, all of those things that are sweet without the processed part, and they actually have a nutritional component to them.
Fantastic. The reason that this slide is here is the ruts. Neurofeedback methodologies are working to take your brain and get you out of your well-worn neural pathways. When we encounter a situation that's familiar to us, we will go immediately right down the same well-worn neural pathway to make a decision. This is a survival technique so that we don't have to recapitulate every scenario that we've already seen. And at the same time, a lot of us get into these deep neural pathway ruts that take us right to shame, or right to aggression, or right to wherever. And low energy neurofeedback is one way, as a passive way of telling the brain, why don't you operate over here instead? And there's some practitioners in town who do that. You'll come in, they'll hook you up to some electrodes. The EEG will read your brainwave activity, and then it'll say, how about input a little bit of tiny bit of voltage that says, how about operating over here? And it's really been a powerful thing for me, because since my wife is a practitioner, I get the benefit of that modality. And it's been a very powerful piece of it. There are a number of people around town who do that work. Pacific Northwest Behavioral Health. My wife at Rose Cabinet Medicine does low energy neurofeedback, Northwest Neurofeedback. You can Oregon Natural Medicine, Portland Neurofeedback, and Dr. Gil Winkleman all do this around town, among others. There are other practitioners in town too. Super Brain Yoga. You going to get up and show this one?
I'll do it really quickly.
Okay.
So this is one yoga exercise, and you can't see the whole full length of me, but you want to take your left thumb with your two fingers, first finger and middle finger behind, and grab your right earlobe with the thumb in front. And then you want to take your right thumb and your other two first fingers and grab your left earlobe with the right arm on top. And then you put your tongue tip on the roof of your mouth and you do 7 squats.
Also, put a little oil on your thumbs so that they're into your into that spot. What oil would you suggest, April?
I like lemon or frankincense.
Mm-hmm.
You could even do peppermint or Intune. Anything that you want to feel more of balance. What this exercise does is it increases the flow of your cerebral spinal fluid through your brain and your spine. So it kind of resets your spinal fluid.
Fantastic. Sleep.
So this is another one we could talk about for an hour. We're so over time. We'll go through it really quickly. So there's some basic sleep hygiene. I won't read the whole sheet to you. Just know that for a lot of kids, they need a lot of kids in general need like a 2-hour wind down period.
Mm-hmm.
For an ADHD kid, they might need more, and a whole protocol. So just like a baby gets trained to have a sleep routine where you eat dinner, you take a bath, you read a book, you sing a song, and then you go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important for ADHD kids to have that routine so their brain knows to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So turning the lights down, getting them off any sort of device. The blue lights are tell our brain to wake up. Putting a diffuser on, cooling down the room. Since ADHD kids have a hard time keeping on any weight, they might need a protein snack at night. So you might give them a slice of turkey or a rice cracker and some nut butter. They might need a little bit of something before they go to bed. My niece would eat a few slices of chicken breast before going to bed. So they need that heavy weight to kind of get them grounded. Okay.
Routines. I didn't mention enough about routines earlier. I think that's really, really important for both adults and children to say, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Because we can be free, our thoughts can be free otherwise and use our superpowers as we need to, yet to function within our society, first we do this, then we do this. So whether it's upon waking, upon sleeping, the routines are really critical.
And you can take a screenshot of this blend. I think Aisha had also posted it on our Facebook page. This is a blend that was curated by actually the intuitive Amber Jane Arquette. She wrote a book about plant wisdom and healing, and this blend specifically in this order. So if you make it in a roller ball, make sure you put it in the bottle in this order, and each one has to deal with a chakra. And the obviously the dosage is important too. Fill it up with a carrier oil of your choice. And what you want to do is put it on the outside of your pinky, up your arm, all the way up to the back of your neck and over your head to your forehead. And do that once or twice a day. We have a protocol coming up. And Ned's been using it. Do you have a testimonial about this blend?
Yep, I have it. So I'm using it every day. Actually, not every day, because I noticed the days I didn't use it, I didn't have quite the success or clarity those days. So I'm pretty into it. Again, from the pinky up along this acupuncture meridian that comes up the arm, sort of follows the ulnar nerve up and then up the spine and over the head. It's pretty great.
And it smells good.
Yep, it sure does.
Okay, so here's the daily protocol. This is, what we recommend starting out with. Again, this is safe for anybody to use. You don't have to have an ADHD brain to benefit from this. You can, as needed section, you can play around with what works best for you. This is what we have found works great for Ned and great for the kids that I work with. The Super Brain Blend, of course, you can use how often you would ever like to, but especially in the morning before school or work. And depending on if you're scent free or not. LLV, again, depending on if your kid can take pills or not, I take all 12 pills at once because I'm not good at remembering the second dose. So it's just better for me to take them all at once. But the PB Assist, which is the probiotic, and there's a powder form for kids that actually is delicious. It tastes like pixie sticks, even though it doesn't have sugar in it. doTERRA has a pill version and a powder version. They're great. And then here's some ideas for wind down at night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So again, family, have patience. Be kind. When your children are, or husbands or wives are not, being forgetful, what can you do anything to help that is assistant without being codependent? I mean, I know that it's a tricky line to walk, and I do know that my wife Louise has made an effort to do a couple of different things. One is to dose my LLV, my vitamins, in an easy to see place for me. I do it sometimes, she does it sometimes, but she has said, I can do that, that's fine, and that doesn't feel codependent to her. And you really have to tell what it is for you. Again, here's systems again, routines, be consistent. Active lifestyle with lots of exercise and outdoor time. My great friend John, he has 2 lovely kids. They get outside every single day. They get in the backpack, they go for a run, they get on their bicycles, and they go out. Whether it's summer, winter, rain, shine, they get outside.
Mm-hmm.
High quality protein and organic food. And yeah, just disappear those sugary foods. Just get rid of them. Where are they? Oh, we must be out. And then just don't buy them again. You have the power to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also choose your battles. Stay consistent with those you've chosen, because you can pick battles. The things that are important to you, stay with them. Create habits. Engage in a positive discipline around those issues. And other ones, you might have to let go.
So one of the things that I learned doing this presentation with Ned was that boys and men learn better or have better communication side by side than face to face. So, for example, if you need to have a conversation with your partner or your son, maybe you go for a walk or a bike ride, or you have a campfire and you're both staring into the campfire or drive. Perfect example, drive. Instead of sitting across a table and just staring at each other. Because especially with ADHD kids, having them sit in one place and feel trapped while they're having a difficult conversation can be really, really stressful. So if they're moving and they're out in fresh air and they're looking ahead and not feeling put on the spot, it might really help them to have a more successful conversation.
Have immediate consequences and rewards. April related a situation where a friend of hers child stole a roll of Lifesavers or something from the store. And then they were in the car. She was sick. She wanted to go home, but she realized that her child had stolen these things. And she said, if it was my daughter, I might wait till tomorrow to take her back to the store, but I'm going to turn around right now and go back to the store, make him return the item, apologize for it right here. So that stayed with him, and that was the last time he did that. So again, sometimes even if you don't feel like it, you need to step right in and say the consequences and rewards are immediate and don't wait, because they'll be disconnected from the activity. Create space so that you can talk. That's part of the side-by-side. And best you can, have a sense of humor, but that's good parenting all over. So.
Yep, right.
Here's some resources for you that you can take. Go ahead.
We're not going to read all this to you, but just know that all of this came from this website down here at the bottom, the National Institute of Mental Health. They have tons of resources for parents and teachers and how to best move ahead. There's that. Okay.
And then I got a lot of my information from this, the book, The ADHD Advantage. What you thought was a diagnosis may be your greatest advantage. And also this other book, ADD-Friendly Ways to Organize Your Life. Both of these books are pro-ADHD and proactive to what you can do to help. And both of them were, I gained a lot of insight by doing the research for this talk. The Northwest ADHD Treatment Center meetups. Look online on the meetup website to see if there's ADHD talks or conversations or gatherings. ADDitude magazine, and I saw that on the intro to this class, it said you can go to that magazine and take your own inventory and see if maybe you have ADHD. If something that you think that this talk really speaks to you, go check it out. I know I just took a new inventory the other day, and I'm a 9 out of 10 on their scale. So that's not surprising to me. EssentialParenting.com. April's gotten a lot of information from there. And the Netflix documentary Take Your Pills really takes a critical look at the pharmaceutical industry and how they're marketing these pills far wider than they need to. Did you know that, I've also learned that in North Carolina, 15% of students are diagnosed with ADHD. In France, that number is 0.5%. Well, clearly humans are no different in North Carolina than they are in France, but we just have a different perspective on what childhood looks like and what maybe they have a smaller teacher-student ratio in France. That might be meaningful. Okay, that's about it for us.
Thank you so much, everybody. All of the questions and comments have been great. Feel free to keep them coming. We'll be online.
We appreciate you hanging in there. So.
We'll be available.
Thanks, Aisha, for
Thank you. Thank you both so much. We go ahead and go to the next slide, Ned. Thank you all for sticking out. I know we're a little longer than normal, but it's such valuable information. For any of you that are not part of our Essential Wellness or Visionary Leaders community, we invite you to join us. And go ahead and go to the next slide, Ned. And it's super simple. You're just going to reach out to the person that invited you to this webinar, and they can help you get set up with your own doTERRA wholesale account. And with this membership comes access to all of our community offerings. We have a team website. We have educational events every single month. We have a library of thousands and thousands of hours of content. So there's a lot to dive into and keep you busy, not to mention the amazing support from our phenomenal community of healers and teachers and just all sorts of people that have come together to bring our knowledge and our experience to help one another along their path in using essential oils. If you've come to this webinar and you are not personally connected to any of us, please reach out to us at info@essentialwellness.life, and we will get you connected or connected back to the person who originally invited you. So go ahead and go to the last slide. Thank you so much. This recording will live on our essentialwellness.life website, so it can be viewed and shared at a later date. And the recording is also on Facebook with our Facebook Live. So have a wonderful day, everybody. And if you do have questions, I think we answered most of them during the presentation. If you ask them on the Facebook thread, we'll keep an eye on those and we can continue to answer questions throughout the day. So again, thank you both so much.
Thank you, Aisha.
So appreciate it. And we'll connect with all of you soon.
Bye.
Great.